Hey guys, we're back for another Unfiltered. Two black women, co-host Leah and with Dana James.
Hello, everyone. How's it going, Leah?
It has been a day
Already?
already. I feel like there's just too much construction going around the city. So me thinking my path was laid out, only to have to get around and detour until I got here. But I'm here.
Well,
So
yay. You made it safely. That's all that counts. My day's going pretty good. It's just another wild day. Traveled to Ames to take more newspapers to a beauty salon up there that was featured in the July edition of the newspaper. So that's a good problem to have. I'm glad that the story about hair is resonating with people. But there was an interesting comment, I thought, just to bring everyone up to speed. The July edition of the Black Iowa newspaper, out now, features a story about braiding hair and how there's all these toxic chemicals in the braiding hair, some of them that cause cancer, known carcinogens, other things that interrupt, your systems in your body that are harmful to people who braid their hair. They're also harmful to people in the household because the fibers from this hair can get in your household dust. So it has the ability to impact everyone in a home. But there was a comment today when I posted the story, and the person said that, like people should read the labels and, like reading is fundamental. And I was really like low key offended.
that's kind of bogus. Like we don't read. I mean, we are a newspaper, right?
Right.
So apparently we fundamentally know how to read, correct?
But it's also because she's talking about the consumer. Like,
I get that, but I mean, that's just where my first mind landed because you can't just assume, right, that someone doesn't read things, but you also have to understand that we have been conditioned to think that we are safe because we've had all these regulations in place. So we thought to later find out in your story more, per se about these toxins. I mean, I know I'm still shocked that it was only two chemicals
there was only two
out of 43.
brands
Out of 43.
that were labeled non-toxic. But I had to go back to her comment because I was like, okay, well, let's look at a pack of hair. So I've
Right.
got lots of hair at home. And I looked at the pack, some of the packages from top to bottom.
Hmm.
And I had to check her because there's no ingredients listed anywhere on the package.
Hmm.
There's no warning label. There's nothing indicating that
That is
this product
toxic.
is unsafe, that it could
Right.
cause you future illnesses and
Like chia seeds. I don't know. I'm gonna just use that for example. That was a recommendation for me to get more fiber in my diet. Well, when I bought the product on it, it says could potentially do this. Now, had I been able to see it in person, because I didn't purchase it in person, I purchased it online. But I've been eating it cautiously, like, man, I done spent this money. I want to finish it. So I feel like the same thing with a pack of hair. It's not a clear label, is where you're trying to go with that. I think
yeah,
it's not a label.
there's
It
no
doesn't say
label.
stop, consumer beware.
Nothing. You couldn't even read the instructions on you couldn't even read the ingredients on there because there's none present.
Mm.
And so like I had to check her that that's the issue. The issue, you can't just say, well, it's on the consumer beware,
Right.
when you haven't even indicated anywhere on this product that it could be problematic, that it could cause you future health concerns.
Mm.
And then she was like, okay, I understand. And that's another thing. Like, why don't these products have anything on them saying what it's made of? Some of the people in the story, there was one student from Iowa State in particular who said
Mhm.
she's been wearing braided hair for like 10 years and never had any remote idea that there were toxins in it, that it could be problematic. So there's a lot of education to be done in the community and I mean, when you think about how things are done to Black people, it stands to reason in a way but for there to be chemicals in this hair that researchers can't even identify, like my jaw kind of dropped at that. Like, what do you mean that, like, what are they dumping? Some of this hair is coming from China, it's coming from Asia. What else is in there
We're
that we don't
we're
know
the,
about?
unknowing rats in the lab, basically, is
Right.
what it comes down to. It's like watching, an experiment unbeknownst that you signed up for it, right?
Right,
Because
absolutely.
I think I've shared with you since we've been talking about hair braid and I was telling Dana and anyone else, I was like, "I've tried it." So I wanna wear box braids. I've tried to attempt it using the extra hair, and both synthetic and human were not for me. Now I understand that later on, people say, "Oh, if you soak it in vinegar and wash it first." Again, that instruction is not out there for me to know that. But regardless, I'll never forget getting them in my hair, and my whole nape of my neck broke out, and then it was on fire. So I feel a little vindicated now that I wish I could go back and show people, see this hair story. Like apparently I'm that sensitive to it that it was immediate outbreak, but never would I have thought it was something with the hair. I just thought, well, maybe they braided my hair too tight because when your hair is too tight at your nape, that could create hair bumps and all
Right.
that kind of stuff, that tension. But never did I consider that. Now I've chosen to be natural because I understand a perm, relaxer, however you want to say it, that those have chemicals. And I know
Right.
that has also different story, but also is linked to cancer and dementia for Black women because it's seeping into your skin. So hence me going natural. But then when I hear the hair story about the braid part, I was like, it just really shocked me when we were promoting the story to see how many that was, like you said, safe for the two, but being also in Iowa and cancer being as high as it is,
That's high.
like, why are you one damaging my health without me knowing it, and then put me also in another ratio or demographic of a possibility of cancer from that?
I
Like,
think it almost feels intentional, one that the study listed as non-toxic. So there's a plug for them. Maybe if you're going to braid your hair, use the Easy Braid brand that you can feel comfortable knowing that it's not toxic. And I have seen on some packages in the past where it mentioned like soaking the hair, but then I've also seen plenty of packages said, "Oh, this is pre-rinse." Just like the lettuce, what's going on right now with that
oh,
parasite that's
the cyclospora.
right, that's an outbreak. There have been some news stories.
Technically not even the Taylor
Right.
farm. So, like, where do we start in here? So, I do believe because I believe you do your research, so we know to know this story is accurate. So,
Yeah,
this has been proven, and it has been documented because I forgot who the source was, but in the moment, but I know that it's been very vetted.
yeah,
So,
absolutely. A researcher, Dr. Alicia Franklin, is the one at the Silent Spring Institute that did the study. She's conducted other studies, and Black Iowa News has written a hair series before that pointed out the carcinogens. And that came from a report from Consumer Reports. So the news about these toxins in braiding hair is getting out there, but even Dee Sims, who's featured in this story, was mentioning that she still has people come in that want that braiding hair brand that is super popular, which is
let's back up.
Expression,
D is the
owner of the
owner
beauty supply
in
store in
Ames.
Ames. Check her out because her store is really nice. She has a lot of the easy braid hair, that's the non-toxic hair. She's very well versed and she's tested the hair out herself, but her store is very nice. You know how you go into some beauty supply stores, Black ones, that are like cluttered and you feel like you're a rat going through a maze because there's stuff everywhere. Her store is very nicely laid out. It's driving to Ames is nothing. If you're in the Des Moines area, that's an easy drive. Definitely check her out. But I love that she was well versed in the studies, that she has
She got
signs.
signs up.
She has signs in her store right before you get ready to check out that warn consumers because again, we have to we can't be dying for a style. We
Mm-mm.
can't be, think about how you would feel if you're, like these college age students from Iowa State who were interviewed in the story. You're at the prime of your life, like 18, 19, 20, 22. And this style choice, it's the most, probably popular style in the world, braids. You're partaking in that, and then you get some cancer diagnosis when you're 30, 35. Like it is not worth it. So it goes back to something, I used to wear weaves back in the day and I still wear braids. I haven't worn them for a long time though, right now because of knowing more about this story. So it has given me pause. But now that I know the brand to buy, I will go back to my braids. But I can remember back in the day when I used to wear weaves, way back when my dad had said to me, he's just like, why don't you wear your own hair?
Mhm.
And I was like, "Yeah, I know,
But that ain't popular.
but
That
back
ain't
then
look,
no, and back then they
90s.
used to sing,
Shoot.
take them with the weaves hanging down to the bus. Like, we like that. We were emulating, what we saw, in popular culture, just like, people
Right.
do today. But I always, after he passed away, I did kind of stop with the weaves. And I think it was, just out of respect for what he had said, but it was also, again, kind of coming into appreciating your own and what it can do. Now, granted, my hair is dry. Black people as a group of people have I've been told from previous research, driest hair, driest skin. But anywho, so my hair is not going to be growing to my waist. It's just not. It's too fragile. It's too dry, and there's not a product in the world that can hydrate my hair to where it is going to maintain like a really long length. And again, there comes a point where you have to make peace with what you have. You have
Right.
to nurture what you have. And we have to learn to even go beyond that and to appreciate our hair as it comes out. Now, as far as gray hair, count me out. I'm not down with gray hair. For me,
I recently did have a more even recent conversation with a friend. She wears wigs and she explained why. And some of it, I'm gonna put it out there, is that I get not everybody knows how to style their own hair, what to do if they don't go to a hairdresser and stuff like that. But I also feel like it's about when you're a professional in a professional setting. A lot of Black women don't want to just look like, I used to call it Kunta Kinte or Frederick Douglass, because we've been groomed and conditioned the way our natural hair grows is not beautiful. So I remember for me, it's the reverse. It wasn't my parents ever saying anything to me, but I just knew when my father passed, ironically, from cancer in 98, and I had decided no more perm. But the minute I got ready to apply to go get my first federal professional job, your girl put the perm back in her hair. But when I started noticing that I had all this damage going on, I started to add the tracks because I wanted to cover up
mhm.
where I was thinning, never thinking, girl, stop putting them chemicals in your head. Stop putting the heat in your head. But I wanted to be, and since we said this unfiltered, so don't cancel me. I wanted to be so white adjacent and assimilate to what was around me, because it even was in my handbook to have neatly coiffed, COIF hair.
Coiffed. Yep.
Because I was looking at that, I was like, no, they didn't. And
Yeah,
so
they
I was
did.
so happy when that Crown Act came out. Like, why are we constantly having to do that? And then you can even go from a historical perspective. With our hair has just always been a storyline. Like, we had to cover our hair up, and then people got mad. Then they got mad. But back to my conversation with the wig. The whole point was that my friend didn't feel comfortable removing it because she doesn't know how to style it herself. I think some of us don't know how to just say, you know what, I love how this God given born hair that I have is gorgeous, and people are trying to emulate it in so many ways.
Well, I mean, everything in the world, when you talk about media, television, movies, there's so much that has shown to us that we're, in their eyes, that we're not beautiful, our hair is not beautiful. In the story, there's a student that talks about how, our hair and our styles in some ways have been marginalized. And they have. But at some point, we all have to get to that point where you do have to have that acceptance for what you have, however long it takes. And the fact that the closer, even though we don't want to really admit this, but the closer things are to natural, the better they literally are. I mean, it comes to food, look at the damage that processed foods that I eat all the time, mind you, do and things like that. But the closer things are to natural, the better they are. And we've always had to, as Black people, we've had to flip the script and reinforce to ourselves that we are beautiful the way we are, and that we appreciate our hair and our bodies and our features and everything about us. And that is hard. It's hard to do in a world that's telling you you're ugly, that in a world that prizes
Hello, Barbie.
European beauty standards, but that I routinely reject that.
Mhm.
We have to, but for these kids, braids and things, a protective hairstyle and just a beautiful hairstyles that are created with it that other people covet and appropriate. They should be able to wear those styles they want to. They should be able to.
Or the awkward conversations. You ever go to work and your hair is here and then you come back and it's down here? Your hair grew like that overnight. First of all, mind your business. Why are we even having that conversation?
And
Why is that even necessary? When I had to one day say, all the amount of actresses, I'm going to just use Julia Roberts, for example. Her hair is naturally short. But this lady got all kind of clips in her hair, and I'm not picking at Julia. I like Julia. But I'm just saying that don't make me feel a certain kind of way because I'm doing the same thing that others are doing and that I'm trying to emulate something. I just know in the society is constantly telling me that I'm not beautiful as I'm naturally born, or other young women, like the young girls now.
if you hear nothing else we say, hear this part. Don't touch Black women's hair. Don't touch Black girls' hair. You don't have the permission. Don't do it.
Don't pet
You will be
us.
checked. We will talk to you. Whatever. We're not right. We ain't chia pets, so don't touch our hair. But again, in this very toxic society that we live in, and by toxic, I don't just mean our discourse that we have with one another, the pollution, our water. Here we are in a state that has the worst water quality that is, hideous with the nitrates and pesticide runoffs and everything else in it, which Black Iowa News has written about. Then we're in the midst of this, food parasite
Mhm.
outbreak. Everything around us is toxic. And so we have to help each other know about what's happening with everything. And so even if you go naturals, the products we use for our hair, if you go to some of these databases, it will show you that 9 times out of 10, the Black products are the most toxic products, that even the ones labeled natural. So we have to be very careful and not be even fooled by words like natural and things like that
Because it
on
gotta just have
labels.
a little bit to make it a little bit of organic. Same thing with your food.
Right.
Well, as I was picking back up on is that, these chemicals that we get exposed to, we just pretty much have been lab rats. And it's unfortunate because you want to trust that your country is not trying to kill you, but in essence, they low key kind of are, you know? And I think about how I think we were talking about also like with we want little girls to understand. We want our general people to know we don't want them 30 years from now sitting somewhere getting a cancer diagnosis, and it could have been alleviated had we as consumers knew more about what is going into our hair.
Right. It's definitely incumbent upon us to do the research, and then when we have the information, to share it with people, which is what we've tried to do with this story with Black Iowa News and the video. And I've got to shout out Gretchen and Sarah, who worked on the story together. I think it was really well done, and I've already gotten some feedback from people that it was good information to have shared. There's a lot of ways, like living in Iowa, that we're exposed to things that are bad for us. We have terrible water quality here, lots of nitrates in our water. There's lots of homes with radon and things like that. And we've got to talk more about it. We've got to push back against our society being so overpolluted. Like, it is incumbent upon us to learn more about what's happening, but also to stop it. And that's really, I think, what we're trying to do with this type of story. And the stories that we've run is just to help educate people so people can share it. And then, like you said, so that things that you're doing today in your youth don't have an impact 20 years from now. Because sadly, that's what's going to happen if we allow these companies to produce these products with no warning labels.
Mhm.
They don't even mention it. They don't mention what the ingredients are. So naturally, people purchasing them would think that they're safe. You probably wouldn't think twice about
And
it.
it's back to media, which will segue into that. But it's why it's important to have yourself someone, and you have writers to talk about what is actually going on, because when we don't have ourselves being represented and making sure we're getting a accurate story, because we are fed so many different things, and nowadays it's like your news is coming from social media, but is that a reliable source? Are you getting people who are vetting the information, actually talking to
The
scientists
researchers.
and getting the actual data? Because we don't have that. You don't Who do you trust? Because I mean, I'm not gonna pick up the paper here as an educated person I am, with a degree, knowing how to read all the different chemicals, may not pronounce it correctly. However, I understand what they are, but an average everyday person is not going to know that. I mean, we do want the people who do our hair to be knowledgeable of it, but are they doing their due diligence? Like the young lady, you said D, that was up in Ames. If I haven't, we haven't said it already, but she owns her own beauty supply store, and she alerts the customers up front what is going in, what is toxic or not toxic, I believe, right?
Right, right. And which hair she deemed dirty, after she tested it and things like that. So that's wonderful. We need more people doing that kind of stuff. But we definitely need to get the message to the young people that don't believe what you see. We always kind of have to think twice. And, back to your point about, your country being out to get you. Well, it literally is, not even low key, it is out to get you, because these products are marketed to us, they're for us, and researchers can't even identify every chemical in it. It's a dumping ground. And then, like was said in our story, you're wearing this hair sometimes for weeks or months on end, and it's impacting everyone in your household. You wouldn't think that, because I know I personally, as someone who has worn braids, love braids, I didn't think that the hair would end up in the household dust and that could affect other people in the home. That's not something that I even ever
Because you're
thought
thinking
about.
you're just applying it to yourself.
Right,
I'm not
exactly.
thinking about, I mean, granted, dust particles are in everything,
Right,
but that's not going to be the aha.
right,
I'm using this hair and it's going to have this extra dust to the life of my household,
right.
which means you're exposing other people who may live with you.
Right. Those chemicals are affecting the whole entire household. And with Black people always topping the list of the worst outcomes,
Hmm.
whether it's incidence of disease or the deaths from the disease, we definitely, like the researcher in the story, Alicia T. Franklin, PhD, said, we have to do something ourselves to reduce our exposures so that, you know, I, we don't want to end up in the statistics all the time. We don't want to end up, well, Black people have the worst this, the worst that, top this. Like at some point, this is ridiculous, and we can't be dying for a hairstyle, and we can't expose our children just because they want the latest hairstyles.
Especially if you're competing with the water.
Exactly.
I mean,
Right. Because
like,
we can't get away from the
you
water.
can't even just water. Now you can't even apply stuff to your hair. I mean, of course, that goes further to even like body products, but that's not what our subject is. But the fact of the matter is, can I have something that I can use to make, I want to feel beautiful. I don't want to feel like the stuff that makes me feel beautiful is out to get me down the road and I'm sitting here across from the doctor, because being on the other end,
And paying for the privilege.
that part. So you didn't got your money twice. You didn't, if I got life insurance, health insurance, like all these people are, I shouldn't say it that way, but that's how it's gonna come out. It just feels like it's this immediate attack, because why I brought up the water is we're still top in the state and we're the least populated here according to statistics. But then you're gonna add the hair factor. So it's like pick your poison is all we're wanting pretty much everybody to understand, right?
Right. Just look at the products that you're purchasing. Maybe run them against, there's some popular databases where you can just Google Black hair care products and see where we are on the list. And a lot of those products are nines and tens. They're the worst of the products. You could Google that, and then you could decide to choose a product that is maybe a one or two. You know, don't have everything be a 9 or a 10.
Right.
It's definitely not worth it, and it begs the question, like we've been talking about, which is, at what point do we appreciate what God gave us? We
Right.
appreciate the hair coming out of our scalp, and we learn how to put good things in our bodies and in our hair, and make sure those messages are given to the young people that
Right.
we can't follow. You know,
Like going
I
back to just doing hair grease. I mean,
right. You
some
see a lot of people talk about blue magic,
I know
blue
that's what was
magic.
going in my head. Like, and then we were told petroleum products were not good, but there's so many people trying to capitalize. While I was saying that organic thing earlier, like they're selling the product to you, saying this is good for you because it's sulfate free. Like they're using keywords to advertise to you to make you think it's okay. But like you said, let's go Google the ingredients. Let's find out if we are. And you might have to go back to good old grandma kitchen recipes and mix your own products.
Right. And that's something that I'm glad you brought that up, because Black Iowa News does intend to do some stories. There's lots of Black women owned companies here in Iowa that they have their own hair product companies. I can think of Lulitz as one off the top of my head, and she's based up in Waterloo. And I want to, have our writers interview the people who have these companies and talk about what's in their products and why. Um, because maybe that's a better option for us, like you're saying, is to go to something that doesn't have words with 19 syllables in it that you could never pronounce, that we know probably aren't going to be good for you.
If it got all them extra syllables, 9 times out of 10 it is a carcinogen. I'll never forget even something as simple as an orange juice. I'm gonna just say simply orange juice. It's got carcinogens in it, and because a friend of mine that I went to school put that out there, I refrain from it. So I've learned over time what products to avoid, but it's really hard to pick, okay, like you said, what poison. So to your point, just emphasizing, choose a product that's closer to like your ones and twos. Like we're not effectively going to get out of it.
Right.
But go to Black Iowa News if you want more about this story. As Dana mentioned, Gretchen and Sarah did a wonderful job interviewing the people and expressing it more about the circumstances. But speaking of media, we got to go do something fun this weekend, which was the 1619 Freedom Read-In. And for me, it was such a pivotal moment because all these authors are people that I have in my own library collection. And 8 years ago, I got to see Angie Thomas. She was one of the featured authors there. And it was such a joy to see her 8 years later and get a new book copied. And I was kind of concerned because she mentioned, because each author basically got up and they read to us for about 10 minutes about from their books that they had. And that was, I don't know about you, but that oh my gosh, like that was a black girl joy for me in that moment. What about you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the 1619 Freedom School is an after school program. It was started by Pulitzer Prize winning Nicole Hannah Jones. And on the 18th of July, she invited the authors to Waterloo West High School, and well attended event. And it was magical, really, to have that big of an audience and to have these authors read these stories, excerpts of stories, and I could really relate to so much of the stories that they were describing, because something in the story aligned with my experience, being a young Black child growing up in Des Moines, Iowa. And that is, again, that's the underscoring uh, the magic of reading, the magic of having authors who have similar experiences to you. And really, when you think about it, how dare these school districts and how dare our country be in a place where it's at to ban books? Like, that is, to me, the most ignorant thing in the world. It's like before, if there's a book that you don't want to read, then don't read it. But how dare you deny others, and how dare you target Black authors?
Especially when, what do you always hear? A lot of parents crying about, me included, we don't want our kids on devices, but you're upset that they're
At reading.
choosing to read a book. So if you don't know by now, books have always been like our platform. Like we, so many years ago, wasn't even allowed to read or write, let alone eventually go to school with people who did not look like us, right?
Right.
So for me, my little heart was just blessed because never did in my wildest dreams that I think I would be an adult meeting authors. And I got a free book. Thank you to
Free books.
from Annie's Foundation. They were able to provide free books for this event, and we got the book signed if you chose to go to the different authors, and you got to have an interaction. And I know that has planted some seed in the 1619 Freedom Scholars, is what they refer to their students. Um, and it was nice to see them interview the authors as well as, again, I'm gonna go back to myself, like Jason Reynolds did Spider-Man, like the black character, Puerto Rican character, Miles Morales, like he was a part of that, and that speaks volumes. But it also shows you kind of the theme of the hair stuff. Like we are being targeted in so many different levels. So much so, like Angie Thomas, when she related and said, after she did The Hate You Give, one of my favorite books because I can see myself in it, and go read it for yourself. But she almost didn't write her second book because before it even got out, Texas was already coming after it. She said it on stage and she began thinking, why should I do that? I'm so glad that she didn't let that outside voice rob her of that, because we have very gifted people telling stories and encouraging our next coming up to tell those stories.
Absolutely. And it does mirror what happens, here in Iowa, as well as you've got these voices trying to, squash your voice and put you on the back burner. And I love that the children in the audience, the Black kids in the audience, got that message. They got told and shown multiple ways that their voice is powerful, that, these authors believe in them and wanted them to stand up. And so I can't say enough good things about the 1619 Freedom Schools. Reading definitely next year when they announce the next one. Be ready to caravan to Waterloo.
Because it is free.
And it's just a hop, skip north. It's really a great event. And, help your kids put down the devices. Because once you have that love of reading, love of turning those pages, it'll be lifelong. And we need that. So we need those future authors, like Lya said. We need to use this as a moment that inspires all of us. And so shout out to Nicole Hannah Jones and the whole team at the 1619 Freedom School, because it was a great event. And we know we posted a lot of photos and videos and interviews on Facebook and our other social media sites. So if you didn't get to read any other stories, definitely go to our page and you will see a lot of interaction with those
on
stories.
Black Iowa News.
Absolutely.com and the Facebook page, and go check that out.
Just in case you didn't know, because this is the show Unfiltered. So I was like, make sure.
Right.
BlackIowaNews.com. And if it hadn't been said again, there are new updated editions of the paper out.
July edition.
And so it's covered in there. Any more?
No, I don't think so. I think we did it all today, Lya.
All right. Till next time.
Bye-bye.